Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Rust Belt Collector here, and today we are taking a look at one of the 5 figures from Wave 4 of the Spartan collection. Now, I put up a fan vote over on my community page as well as over on Instagram, and as of recording this video, the votes may fluctuate after this, but as of recording, you guys chose Spartan June. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, and we'll do the rest of these in subsequent reviews. Now, of course, I am excited for every single figure in this wave. They all look amazing, but I've been especially excited for June because June was honestly probably, well, he fluctuated between my favorite and my second favorite of the original Noble team because Emil was also really awesome. So I'm so glad that the Spartan collection is fleshing out each member of the team, and here we finally have the sniper of the team, June. The packaging that he comes in is pretty much standard for what we've been getting with the Spartan collection. Up here at the top, you can see it says June A266, which is his designation, and with accessories because he comes with a magnum, a sniper rifle, and an assortment of hands, as well as a helmet and head. Now, I'm fairly confident that helmet isn't removable. It's simply a pop and swap, but that's okay. Coming around to the back here, we have just a brief description of what he includes, and then also the rest of the figures from Wave 4, or rather Series 4, and yeah, they're all looking amazing. We see the return of the chromed out visors, something that Wave 3 sadly missed, and it looks amazing. It's perfect. It's exactly what we want with these figures. The beautiful chrome visors that call back to the Joyride days, and a great assortment of both multiplayer and campaign figures. But without further ado, let's take a look at this figure out of the box. And here he is, all out of the packaging. Honestly, first impressions, this figure looks amazing. There are a ton of different paint apps all over this figure. It seems like they've done a really, really good job of just hitting all the different spots that need to be hit, as well as giving us so many unique parts for this figure because honestly, there's a lot of new or partially retooled parts to make up this highly detailed figure. Starting off, let's look at the hands that he comes with. He comes with 2 balled up fist hands, one for the left and one for the right. Next, he comes with 2 weapon holding hands or gesturing hands, depending on what you want to use it for. One for the left and also one for the right. These can be used to hold weapons, but they also could be used as like a pointing, a gesturing hand where he's giving some orders to fellow Spartans or maybe a group of Marines. Then he has 2 relaxed hands, which could be used for gripping the other end of a weapon or just for a more relaxed pose, but once again, he comes with 2 of those, one for the left, one for the right. And then finally, he comes with 1 more gesturing hand for the left arm. It's this one right here with the 2 fingers, so once again, kind of a gesturing, pointing over there kind of thing. And yeah, it's really awesome just how many different hands these figures come with. And it's worth noting that these hands appear to have a retooled peg system, so this is an older hand from like Wave 1. This is the new peg, and it appears that it's not only larger, but it also has a larger end to it. So I found that it's a little bit more difficult to peg these in and out than it was before, but that may not be a bad thing since I think it will mean that there's more longevity to the pegs and swapping them in and out won't do as much damage or potentially lead to loose joints. Now for weapons, he comes with the standard Halo Reach Magnum, some really nice paint apps there with the gray top as well as the little white stripe there. This is the same sculpt that we got with the cat figure, and it does have a little hole there which allows it to peg right into his thigh here. We'll just take out that little side panel, flip it around, revealing a peg, and then you can simply do that right there, which mounts it to his hip just like in-game. And when you're done doing that, if you want to equip it in his hand or maybe just not display it this way, you can switch that little piece back around, and just like that, he's back to having a normal thigh plate. Additionally, he comes with a sniper rifle, and this is cast in a more bendy plastic, so you can kind of see the barrel's a little bit skewed there, but it can be corrected, and if it's really bad, you could always heat it up and then reshape it as needed. But overall, I do appreciate having the softer plastic for these weapons because, you know, they're not going to break on you, which is a really nice feature. It's been a problem in the past to have weapons just break because they're too brittle, and things like the barrel here would just be too thin. Also, these bipods do come down, which, you know, they are kind of attached to this carry handle, so you just got to push those apart separately, but you can fold them back up, flip them down, and it's just a really cool play feature. This also sports a hole for pegging it onto the back of a Spartan. However, on June in particular, because of his ghillie suit piece that comes back over here, he doesn't have a place for this to peg onto his back, but I think that's okay because I actually rather like this design. And then finally, for weapon accessories, you may not have initially noticed this, but his combat knife on his shoulder here actually is removable, and he can hold that in his hand rather well, actually. It's not going to fall out or anything, and this way, if you want to take down an elite or a grunt very stealthily, you can definitely do that. And once you're done, that will just slot right back into the scabbard, and it's not going to fall out or anything, which is really nice. Now then, for I guess what you could consider the final accessory, we have the head and helmet combo that allows you to have June with his helmet or without it. Now I did find once you have the helmet properly seated on the peg joint, it's rather tricky to get it back off, but it is doable, just a little bit tricky. The head, however, is cast in a slightly soft plastic, and it seems to go on much easier than the helmet, so you'll find that this is probably the easiest part to switch out, and then putting the helmet back on is rather tricky at times. Now overall, I would say this head sculpt is actually pretty nice. It bears a good likeness to the character, and we don't really see him a whole lot without his helmet, so I can't really say for sure, like, oh yeah, that's 100% accurate or not, but it does look like June, and they even have the tattoo here on the side of his head with the hand clutching 3 arrows. That is a really nice detail to have included there. And I would definitely say that it stacks up rather nicely next to Cat here. They both have a very similar just overall style. And while the detail may not be like photorealistic necessarily, I think it works well, and I would rather have them be consistent across all the different head sculpts that we're getting, rather than having one maybe be super detailed and the other one not. For someone who's a bit more talented than I am, you could definitely use these head sculpts as a base and then custom paint the rest over top and give them a little bit more realistic skin tone perhaps, but for action figures straight out of the box, I think these do very well. Now for the rest of this review, I think I'm just going to keep the helmet on since I feel like that's where most collectors are going to want this figure to be displayed. You know, the helmet is just so iconic. He wears it for most of the campaign, and honestly, the coolest thing about Spartans is their armor, so while we don't mind an unhelmeted Spartan, it is very nice to be able to see the fully kitted out armor set. Overall, I really dig this figure. It's just, I mean, I am biased. I definitely am biased because I always loved June in the campaign. I really worked hard back in the Halo Reach days on 360 to get the Scout chest plate because I thought this, like, piece of ghillie suit, ghillie mesh coming over his shoulders just looks so cool. His armor design from top to bottom is still one of my favorites from Halo Reach. I think Jazwares did a really nice job of capturing all that detail with this figure. You have all these straps painted as well as the little water hose coming out here from the front. You have the stripes on his bicep here as well as here, and then you have his sniper bullets painted on the shoulder pad. Moving around to the back here, you have this little backpack, which I always thought was such a practical design because, you know, Spartans just seem to have infinite amounts of ammo and supplies and everything. It's nice to see them have some more tactical and practical items attached to their armor, and the paint apps here really do accentuate the sculpt. Now there is one thing unfortunately that he is missing, and that is his tack pad here on his left forearm. They did try to kind of emulate it with the little orange paint app there, but unfortunately I feel like that's just not quite enough to really give off the feeling that there's a map there, because on his character design he has an actual little GPS unit attached to his gauntlet there. On Emil, they did give us the shotgun shells on his forearm, so I really wish they could have given us that little extra detail of the little pad there, the little data pad. I think that's a really unfortunate thing to not have included with this figure, but I still do really like this figure overall. Down here on the leg, we do have his little pouch here, which I think might be like a med kit or just, you know, extra supplies. And we have other paint apps just rounding off this figure very nicely. There's also the silver dry brushing we've seen on previous figures just all over this figure, really accentuating once again the sculpt and just, you know, giving him a nice weathered look. Right out of the box, it feels like this figure has been through a lot of different battles and, you know, he's seen some stuff. He's been on Reach, and Reach, well, it didn't end well, so you know how it goes. His armor's gonna get beat up along the way. And of course, it's vital to mention that he has a beautiful chromed out visor, something that unfortunately was missing with Series 3, but did make a valiant return in Wave 4, and we're all loving that chrome visor. I mean, it's what makes the Spartan collection, honestly. Now moving on to articulation, this figure bears very similar articulation to the previous Mark 5B variants that we've seen. However, it still is worth going over with this particular figure. And starting off here at the head, we have a hinge and swivel. So the swivel side to side with the helmet, as well as you can get it to there with a forward and back to there. The armor does impede it quite a bit, unfortunately. And I will say that this particular swivel joint is rather difficult. You definitely have to put a bit of force to get those movements out of it, and it might just be that mine is, new out of the package, so with some work it may loosen up a little bit, but for now it definitely takes a little force to actually get it to move to where you want it. At the shoulders we have a hinge and a swivel. It does not appear that we got butterfly joints with this particular figure, but you can swivel it all the way around. Because there's really no shoulder pad here sticking up, you can actually get it well past 90 on this one, and with the knife shoulder pad you can get him up to just under 90, that kind of comes across and impacts his chest there, but you can still swivel it all the way around. Of course, there is a bicep swivel here that allows you to spin it all the way around at that axis, and then there is a double elbow joint that allows you to crunch all the way into there, which I think is really nice. The hands are all hinge and swivel, so you can swivel them around at the base and then hinge them in and out. All the different hands that you get with this set are in and out hinges, just like that. Moving down to the torso, there is a ball joint here, but it's rather restricted. You can't get much side to side. You can get a little bit of forward and you can get a little bit back, but really not much. And I think that comes down to this backpack piece. It is actually attached to this lower torso, not to the upper torso. And so as you can see, as you're trying to move that figure around, it does impact this backpack a little bit. Then moving down to the hips, we have a ball joint and a thigh swivel. So the ball joint allows you to get forward to there. You can get outward to there, which is really nice for these 6-inch figures. And then of course you can swivel that thigh joint as needed to get a better position as you try and move him into whatever pose you might want. Then moving down to the knees, we have a double knee joint allowing you to crunch all the way to there. This does implement a newer knee joint design where it uses just a simple peg joint system, so you can really see those joints, whereas on previous waves we did have a little bit more of a concealed knee joint. You can see the comparison there. I'm not sure why they moved away from this particular knee joint and moved to this one. I think the range of articulation is pretty good on both, though I've heard some people say that they prefer the old one just because they felt it hid the joint a little bit better. It's still serviceable. I do like the more concealed version from Wave 1, but this is still a serviceable joint. It still gets the job done in terms of posing, and I guess it just comes down to your personal taste, whether that's a deal breaker to have that type of joint there. Then moving on down to the foot, we have a hinge and forward rocker, so you can hinge it to there. You can hinge it forward to there, and then the side-to-side rocker allows you a lot of range of motion that way. And then of course we have the little toe crunch that gets you to there and to there, just giving you that extra point of articulation for a more believable pose. And there we have it, Spartan June. I am really, really glad that we're getting these Reach figures pretty much one per wave. I think that we'll probably see George or Carter in the next wave, and then whichever one we don't get in that wave, we'll get in the following wave. So presumably sometime by mid-2022 or thereabouts, we will have the full Noble team, and I think that's going to be really awesome. I think it's a great choice from Jazwares to start out the Spartan collection with this team and just building it out one figure per wave. It's a great way to keep people invested in the line, and it's really exciting to have such iconic characters in this 6.5-inch scale. Now then, to round this video off, let's just bring in the other members of Noble Team that we've gotten so far in the 6-inch or 6.5-inch rather Spartan collection line. We are just 2 characters away from having the full line, including Noble 6, though really you could substitute any Spartan Mark V for Noble 6 since his armor is customizable in-game. This is just the lore accurate version of him, and really you could do whatever version you wanted to just make him your own. Noble 6 is your character, and of course there's really no one to say, hey, you can't do that version of him because, you know what, he's customizable. in game and in real life. And as you can see, this is a fantastic lineup. I love each of these figures for different reasons, and I have considered doing some minor repaints to them just to customize them, weather them up a little bit more, and if I do, perhaps I'll do like a full video on that. I'm not quite sure yet. Now, June is the first figure to have the chromed out visor from like the initial right out of the gate release, whereas these two figures both came with just more matte finish visors. Emil makes sense because he's got those, scratches and everything. It'd be very difficult to do a chrome visor for him. However, unfortunately, Noble 6 was Wave 3, where all the Spartans did not have the chrome visor, so you could replace that visor with one of the other Mark V variants because those ones are chromed. And then if you're looking for the cat figure, there are actually 3 different variants. There's the first release where the visor is very matte and it's missing some of the white stripes on her armor. There's the second release where the visor is the same, but there's more paint apps on the armor. And then this third release is this one here, full paint apps and a chrome visor. So if you're looking at them in the package and you're trying to figure out which one is which, the chrome visor is the newest release. It'll have the best articulation and the best paint apps. But anyways, that is going to do it for this video review, so I hope you all found it helpful. As always, there's a link down in the description if you want to check out my Instagram, my other social media. You can stay up to date with the channel, as well as stay up to date with other figure releases. I try to help out fellow collectors with just links to new releases and things like that over there. And of course, thank you all so much for watching. It's great that you guys find these videos helpful, or just mildly entertaining. Whatever the case may be, I appreciate each and every one of you that takes the time to watch this. As always, have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you're watching this video. Be kind to one another, and I will catch you all in the next video.